Well, we have Javier Pérez with us. Javier is an attorney, his own firm. He also works with Crain Brogdon. Javier is here to talk about companies using AI now to monitor employee messages. Javier, it seems like we've heard this for years, that companies are allowed to look at your emails and your messages and such. Is this expanding somehow?
And good morning. Thanks for having me. It is an expansion only in terms of how efficient employers are able to review that information, but you're absolutely right. It's their information to review.
And we're talking about major corporations, Walmart, Delta, T-Mobile, Starbucks. I mean, they are using AI right now to monitor their workers' messages. Are we talking about their own, like, text messages or something on company, computers?
That's a very good point, because we're talking about company devices. Company computer systems, messaging, Slack, all those sorts of things that are really the company's property, but just being input by employees.
How does it work? What is the rule if you're emailing somebody from a company computer to their personal computer or to their personal email account?
Well, so the line, essentially, legally speaking, is the expectation of privacy. So really, if you were kind of emailing yourself or emailing within your home, company can't come in and look at that. But if you are interacting or engaging a computer system that belongs to the company, regardless of the device, there's no expectation of privacy. And I think that is where the line is legally, whether we're talking about AI or not.
Wow. So they're basically saying if you're on the clock, we own you.
Well, not exactly, but I get the sentiment. Let's say you're on the clock, but you take out your personal cell phone and text one of your kids. Company doesn't have a right to see that.
Okay.
But if you use a company phone to text your coworker, absolutely.
And has AI just made this more efficient?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the ability to review vast amounts of data quickly is what is making the news about this story.
It seems like you could just set up an algorithm with AI, tell them to look for certain keywords, and then reveal those emails or communications to you.
That's exactly right. So, looking at it in a positive light, you could think about, we're looking for instances of bullying, or we're looking for instances of discrimination or other kind of problematic behavior that, might go under the radar. But now with AI, those things can be flagged and addressed by the employer.
Javier, do you think in this day and age it's a surprise to anybody that their company can monitor what they're sending out?
I wouldn't think so. I think it's just a little bit scary because AI is kind of this boogeyman that is, apparently looking over our shoulder. I think we've all kind of got a little used to the sort of big brother aspect of kind of work monitoring or Alexa or those sorts of things that are kind of just part of our daily digital lives.
Javier Pérez with us, an attorney. He's also works with Crain Brogdon, has his own firm as well. I have to ask this question, and this is going to get a little bit off AI, but how much control do companies have over your personal life? How much are they allowed to know or get involved with?
The line is essentially what I mentioned before in terms of a expectation of privacy. So if you're doing something out in the open where someone could see or discover it, there is kind of no real expectation of privacy, and that means really no kind of legal protection. When there is an expectation of privacy, kind of the classic example is like in the restroom, right? An employer cannot monitor what's going on in their restroom because there is an expectation of privacy there. I think remote work has kind of made this much more complicated. But generally speaking, it's that expectation of privacy, that the fine line between your employer and employee in terms of that control and monitoring.
Now, it is interesting that this does not flag individual employee names, right? So it can't pinpoint and say Carla was doing this or that, but it's basically getting an overview of just the employees in general. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so the one of these kind of leading softwares called Aware is set up to where it's not kind of monitoring who's doing something at that kind of review stage. All it is flagging things that have been predetermined to be, flagged or problematic. But there is a way for them to, once they kind of flag all these documents or messages, to look who's actually involved in those messages. So it's not anonymous per se, but I think that's to kind of help our concern about being constantly monitored.
Javier Pérez, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
All right.
You too.